So thank you so much, ma'am. Once again, we're very welcome to have you on this RESO podcast where we actually explore powerful ideas at the intersection of society, justice, and innovation. Honor to have you, ma'am. Welcome as a global change maker, pointer in inclusive leadership, Debra Ruh, CEO and founder of Ruh Global IMPACT and executive chair and co-founder of Billion Strong. You also serve as a US State Department speaker representing United States in the key global conversations about digital accessibility, disability rights, and inclusive innovations. You penned out two outstanding books, Inclusion, Branding, and Tapping into Hidden Capital. We are very much glad, ma'am, to have you on board today. And it's a wonderful topic we're going to be discussing, and sort of your narratives are certainly going to benefit our audience. So I would like to move on to my first question, which is certainly a very important question, ma'am. It says, what major shifts is still needed to transform global disability inclusion?
There is so much change happening in society right now. I'm joining from the United States, from Virginia, and there is so much chaos happening in my country, and it's actually happening over disability and other diversity inclusion efforts. But the reality is, and I continue to talk about this in the work that I'm doing. I'm about to speak at the World Vaccine Congress this week. And why do people with disabilities need to be included? Well, we should be including ourselves. And the human experience, disabilities is a natural part of the experience. We experience being a child. We experience being a teenager. We experience being adults. And if we're lucky, we might experience being seniors like I am. But the reality to design any society where we do not include every single person, it's just ridiculous. That is not an enlightened society. So we're fighting about it a lot in the Western countries. We're fighting a lot about inclusion. But in the meantime, a lot of us are just moving on. Because when you're building a big, innovative, smart city, a smart city is not smart if it does not include human beings at every phase of their life. And at a time when we have we have artificial intelligence also, it's even more important that we really look at designing for the entire human experience. So we have a lot of work to do in society right now.
This is an important question. You've responded very well. Would like to move on to my second question, which is again a very important question. Says, how is Billion Strong different from traditional disability advocacy?
Billion Strong, it's billion-strong.org. It is different from what I have seen with disability advocacy. I have been in this field since 2000. I might say that I've been in this field since 1987 when my daughter was born with Down syndrome. And I was like, oh no, I've never met another person with a disability. Not even really realizing at the time that legally I am considered a person with a disability because I am neurodiverse. I have ADHD. So I was always one of those kids, they were saying, now be quiet, Deborah, go sit down, be quiet. But the reality is, it's actually made me a very successful adult. So once again, having disabilities is just part of the human experience. But I think that the opportunity is, once again, why are we designing anything in society? Why are we building any environments that are not accessible to every bit of the human experience? So it keeps going back to the same thing. And when I talk about these issues as I travel around the world, I'm starting to get I'm getting a lot more hope for what some people call developing nations, like India. India has 1,500,000,000 people. If we could get disability inclusion, for that matter, celebrating all of the human experience in India and designing like we are human beings that are diverse, that are constantly changing, it would benefit all of the other countries as well. It'll be interesting to see how all of this unfolds, but I believe that the only way forward is using the innovation and the technology that we have built and making sure that it's fully accessible to every bit of the human experience, which means that we include ourselves in all design. And we make sure that everyone gets to experience society and contribute to society.
I mean, responded very well. This is an important question, and your narratives are certainly helpful for our audience. Would like to move on to my third question, which is important question. Says, How can governments, businesses, and communities co-create inclusive systems?
Question, because it is about community. It really is about community. And I think that one thing that we're seeing in the Western countries, especially my beautiful country, is that it's like we forgot about community. We go into our little houses, our big houses with one or two, maybe four people, and we just forget about community. So we turn to our governments and say, you need to take care of us. But the reality is, I think that we have to take care of ourselves. And so building societies that are really resistant in that way, but also very supportive of community and helping community. And then, as you said, partnering with other community members. There are so many stakeholders. There's so many stakeholders in community, so many stakeholders. And bringing them all together to design, once again, for the entire human experience is the really...
Thank you so much. Now I would like to move on to my fourth question. It says, like, in the face of DEI backlash, how do we keep human inclusion front and center?
It is very difficult to watch the backlash of what is happening in the DEI crisis. I have seen people all over the world, organizations all over the world decimated. I see really, really important care and crisis intervention that are being just cut. It's really, really hard to watch. But at the same time, I think, okay, I can watch. I made a decision as an American to vote in a different direction than America chose. That's fine. We're a democratic nation. But I also saw, I'll just give you an example. Last time this president was in office, which I also did not vote that way that time, there was a decision to be made to take away something we call in America Meal on Wheels, which is a very important program where we reach out to our elderly, people that are shut in, people that might have disabilities that are very vulnerable, and they won't eat if you don't help them. And so I remember we were just devastated that our government was going to take that program away. But what the community did was the community just stepped up and we filled that gap because it was important to us that people do not starve, right? Even though people starve every day. But you know what I mean? It's about community. And so the reality is now we have the opportunity to step up even more as communities, as inclusive communities that celebrate every bit of our existence. Let's celebrate our beautiful children. Let's celebrate being a teenager. Oh, it's so difficult sometimes and so valuable. Let's celebrate every single phase of our lives. But if we do that, if we celebrate our seniors, we should all celebrate our elders. We are also celebrating them in every single phase of the vulnerability and the beauty of being a human being. We're making sure that, as you said earlier, we are working as community members and bringing the stakeholders. The corporations are in and they're hiring us. They're understanding how to include us. How do you keep people with disabilities at the front and center, as we talked about before? You include them in everything. You help them make the decisions. You say, hey, by the way, is this works for you, even though you're blind, right? Oh, no, this works even though you're in a wheelchair. You make sure that you're keeping it front and center, no matter what the politics are doing, no matter what one individual leader says or whatever people are doing. How can we ever argue against including humans, including yourself? That's what our society is meant. The better legislated, not going to admit, because we might look weak, we might be considered less. We might be in a lower caste system. Oh, we don't use that anymore. And yet, all over the world, don't we do that? We categorize people and decide they're less than because. Well, just so ridiculous. That did not happen in our design. That way, if you have a political person that decides that some people aren't better than others because their skin is darker, their skin is lighter, their hair is different. It is so ridiculous. We are human beings. So, I said we always make sure they're included by actually including them and listening and encouraging. And once again, there's so much good data all over the world. that we can get what we need and make sure that they are included so they can. And once again, they are us. It's ridiculous. We're humans.
Ma'am, now I'd like to move on to my fifth question, which is a wrap-up question. Final question says, what roles do AI, accessibility, technology, and grassroots leadership play in building an inclusive future?
I'm very excited. I love technology. I've loved technology since I was a little girl. My dad was a programmer, and he was in charge of a computer my house is bigger than this. I mean, it was a gigantic computer, which probably this phone I'm on has more computing power than that whole block of buildings did in the past. But I believe in technology. I know technology can be used and has been to harm us. It has. But also, it can be used for great good. And I really like artificial intelligence. Now, I know that there's all kind of ways to use technology in bad ways. That's just not who I am. I focus on using technology for good. AI for good, tech for good. That's what I do. And when it comes to AI supporting humans, as we walk our conditions, as we go through this journey of life, as sometimes we become more vulnerable than others. I am different now than I was when I was in my 20s. I am, and I'm accepting of that. But if I can use technology to make my life even better, why would I not do that? So the opportunity to really, really enhance our lives, not to use AI just as somebody to babysit older people or people with disabilities, no, but integrating AI and technology into our lives in ways that is very powerful, which we're starting to do. We see Google did smart glasses. They considered that such a failure. I don't. Thank you, Google, for coming up with Google Glasses and figuring it out so that others can keep taking that and advancing on the technology. Now there's a company that has smart glasses for people that are blind that really are allowing them to do wayfinding and live their lives more independently. And they have over 100,000 people using it. And they've just started. So where will that technology take us? I mean, the opportunities are just endless of what we can do with technologies. And I think we can get really excited about it. There's some problems with the technology. We need to make sure there's not unconscious and actual bias built into the systems, which we have seen, but there are different things that we can do and are doing to make sure of that. But AI can give us the power to walk. AI can give us the power to speak when we've lost it. It can allow us to communicate with each other even if we don't speak the same language. It's just so powerful what it is going to do for the humans and especially for people with disabilities. And one thing that I'm working on, we had talked earlier about Billion Strong. Why do we need to bring it together? Well, because one thing that I was saying before the DEI crisis happened was that we need to come together. We are in the disability community over 1.7 billion strong, and we think even stronger because having a disability is part of being a human being. So the reality is, Billion Strong came together, not as a disability organization, but as an organization to fulfill the promise of nothing about us without us. Include yourself, include people with disabilities in everything we do, and you will allow society to be built so that everybody can be included. Use technology in a way that it really benefits mankind in this beautiful living planet that we're on. And be inspired about what we could do, especially as these things unfold in other nations that look ridiculous. It is such an opportunity for countries like India to show us the way forward. Countries in the Middle East, show us the way forward. Stop relying on other countries. Say, oh, you should do it this way. No. Build societies that work for all human beings. That's what we need right now. Make sure that AI complements and helps all of us really, really enjoy beautiful, wonderful, diverse lives, and celebrate being human instead of doing it the way we're doing it. But thank you so very much for the time today.
I'm responding these 5 important questions, and it was a wonderful possibility to have you on the platform of RESO, such a esteemed and renowned personality. And your your knowledge is vast, and I'm sure the audience will draw major chunk of benefit. as you're already familiar, that RESO is a platform where we strive through the noise to cause you most reliable and authentic sociological narratives and explanations on various different topics and domains. This time we were trying to address with you, we tried addressing with you disability and inclusion. It is such a wonderful possibility. In fact, we are covering this topic for the very first time, and we're very glad to have you, ma'am, on this platform. Once again, ma'am, thank you so much joining us from the United Nations.